Okay, this is the first of several videos I'm going to make to guide you through the process of making a composite image in Photoshop. But before I get into compositing, I want to just review layer masks, what layer masks are, and how layer masks work. So I'm going to start here with this image, and let's say for the sake of argument that I would like the sky to be darker, but I would like the foreground to stay pretty much as it is. This would be a really good use for an adjustment mask, and this is one of the primary types of layer masks that we use. So in order to make an adjustment mask or make an adjustment layer with a mask, I'm going to go over here to my Adjustments tab. And when I make an adjustment via the Adjustments tab here, it will always make that adjustment as a non-destructive edit that is on a new layer. So I'm going to make a levels adjustment. I'll click on the icon for the levels adjustment, and you'll immediately see that here in the layers palette, there is a new layer that says levels. Here's my histogram for my image. And what I'd like to do is just simply darken the image overall. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to use the mid-tone slider here. That's the middle one. And you see if I pull it to the left, it makes the whole image lighter. If I pull it to the right, it makes the whole image darker. And I don't care what's happening in the foreground here, because in the long run, I'm only going to apply the adjustment here to the sky. So I'm just looking at the sky as I make the adjustment. And I'm going to be a little bit aggressive about it. Let's do that. Now you can see, if you look here in the layers palette, that there is a new level adjustment layer. And if I turn the eyeball off for that, then I turn off the visibility, you can see the before and after with that adjustment. But as I said, I don't actually want that adjustment applied here on the sheep and the foreground. I just want it to be applied to the sky. This white box right here is the layer mask. The layer mask shows that all of that, that adjustment layer is equally visible over my entire picture. The reason I know that is because the entire layer mask box is white. If you think of this box as a map of all the pixels that are here on my screen or in my image, and you see that it's all white, white reveals, black hides. Anywhere where the layer mask is white, I can see that adjustment. Anywhere the layer mask is black, I can't see the adjustment is hidden. So black hides, white reveals, okay? So for example, were I to take my paintbrush, I'm just here in my tool palette, I've gone to my paintbrush. If I were to take my paintbrush and I would paint with black, by the way, if you want to get black and white up as your colors, you can hit the letter D on your keyboard for defaults. And then to switch between black and white, you can either click this little arrow here, or you can hit the X key and that will switch which one is the active color that you're painting with. So for example, were I to paint with black in the layer mask, now I don't want to paint with black on the picture, that'll just give me, or it turned to blue, but anyway, that'll just give me color on my picture. What I want to do is I want to paint in my layer mask, and were I to paint with black in my layer mask, you'll notice, and I'm just clicking and painting, that for example, if I paint right here, all of a sudden you see a black dot in the middle of my layer mask, and what that shows me is that levels adjustment, it is still there, but in that particular area I've hidden it by essentially obscuring it behind the black of the mask. So if I don't want this foreground to have the effect of that levels adjustment, I can simply continue painting with black here in the foreground, and anywhere that I paint with black, it will hide that adjustment. So I'm going to just kind of go here, and I'll stay away from the edge of the sky here. I might leave the sort of the mountain areas a little dark still. And I'm just painting with black. You obviously do not see actual black in the image because I'm painting in the mask. And I made sure that before I started painting that this was active. You can see the difference that there's a little box around this. If I try to paint here, it won't let me. But if I click right there, then I'm painting in the mask. Now you see that if I click the eyeball on and off, oop, I missed a spot, that in the foreground, that adjustment is not visible at all. And in the background here, or in the sky, I should say, my adjustment is visible. That's because I have masked it out. So that's one of the most basic uses of a layer mask. Layer masks work the same way, or I should say similarly, on pixels. So I can put another picture into this picture, and in doing so, I can reveal part of it, and hide part of it. So let me show you how you would do that. I'm going to start here by throwing out this levels adjustment that I just made with the layer mask because I'm going to do a little something different here. So I'm going to go ahead and just, if I make a mistake, I can just drag it to the trash. That's why it's a non-destructive edit. I can always back up. So that was the first use of the layer mask. That was by creating an adjustment layer. But in this case, what I'd like to do is I'd like to add this area back here, the mountains and the little farm, as the background instead of this more flat, kind of less dynamic background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this picture into this picture. So I've clicked on the tab for this picture, and then I'm going to go to Select All, Edit, Copy. So that would also be Command A for Select All and Command C for Edit Copy. And then I'll click on the tab for this picture with the sheep in it, and I'll go to Edit Paste, which is also Command V. And now you'll notice that if you look over here in the Layers palette, I have two layers. One's right on top of the other. They were shot with the same camera, so they're the exact same resolution and size, which works out nicely. Okay. And on the background, I have the sheep image. And in the foreground, on the top, I have this image of the farm and the mountains. Now, if you'll recall, my idea is that I'd like to have the sheep still in the foreground and perhaps this grassy field, but I want to have this as my background or my distant part of my image, top third of the image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a layer mask to this layer. And in order to do that, I'm going to click on the layer. So it's the active layer, and you see that it's kind of greater. It's the highlighted layer, so to speak. And then I'm going to go down here in the layers palette, and I'm going to click on the image that looks like a square with a circle in it. That's the Add Layer Mask image or button. I'm going to hit that button. And as soon as I did it, I have a layer mask that is added to this image. It works the same way as the layer mask that I used in the Adjustments tab, but this time it's going to hide or reveal pixels. So what I would like to do is I would like to hide the pixels that are down here so that I can see the sheep. So I click on my layer mask. Again, I'm going to paint with black. I have my paintbrush, and I have kind of a big paintbrush, and I'm just going to start painting in. And as I paint with black in the layer mask, you'll notice that suddenly I'm seeing through to my sheep image here, and I'm going to just keep painting that in. Painting, 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 painting. I'm just painting with black in my layer mask, and notice as I'm painting, you see that represented here in the mask. The areas where the mask is black, I cannot see the sort of bottom half of this image. Instead I'm seeing through to the sheep. So I'm going to keep painting. I'm going to try to blend it here. Try to find a good sort of logical spot for it to blend in. Okay, it's not perfect, but you know, it's pretty good. Okay, and now I have this nice foreground with sheep, and I have transplanted them to this other different farm, and I've done that with my layer mask.